Hey yo, what's going on everybody? Depraved Slasher here, and we are back with another Eminem lyric breakdown. So, I hit the randomizer again, and Infinite is what pulled up, which is ironic, because the last couple of songs I did was Castle and Rose, and in Castle, he actually was talking about how his happier rhyme schemes and the things that he was doing wasn't working. Um, and this is kind of what he's referencing, this is the Infinite album, and this is actually the title track off of it called Infinite. I've heard this song before, but it's been a very long time, so this is going to double as kind of almost a reaction and a lyric breakdown. I've got the lyrics pulled up on my phone because there was not a lyric video for this. But then again, do we ever really trust lyric videos? So no, this is not me checking text messages or anything crazy like that. I'm legit using it to be able to read the lyrics and break it down for you guys. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into this. We're going to slash it up, break it down, and really break it down. This is Eminem Infinite off of the Infinite album. So let's go ahead and do this.
Oh yeah, it's like this. Eminem, baby.
It's Eminem, baby.
Back up in that motherfucking ass. One time for your motherfucking mind. We represent the 313. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know shit about this. For the 9-6.
Alright, so starting off just with the intro. It's just him announcing himself, right? He's like, it's Eminem, back in that motherfucking ass, talking about, about to give it to y'all. One time for your motherfucking mind. Just to play on words again, just saying, exactly what he says is, one time for your mind. And he says, we represent 313, which is Detroit's area code. And he says, you know what I'm saying? Yo, they don't know shit about this for the 9-6. Talking about it, the year was 96 when he was putting this out. So, here we go into the verse. Let's go.
Hey yo, my pen and paper cause a chain reaction to get your brain relaxing. A zaniac, the maniac in action. A brainiac in fact, son. You mainly lack attraction. You look insanely whack when just a fraction of my tracks run.
Alright, so right here he says, hey yo, my pen and paper cause a chain reaction to get your brain relaxing. The zany acting maniac in action. Just him being a lyrical miracle type of rapper, as I guess is the new term for this. He's just saying, my pen and paper cause a chain reaction to get your brain relaxed. To talk about his rhymes, get your brain relaxing. The zany acting maniac in action. Just talk about he acts crazy. He's a maniac rapping. And he says, a brainiac, in fact, son, you mainly lack attraction. Again, he's just saying he's a brainiac. He's a brainiac talking about, his lyrical prowess. He says, and you lack attraction, talking about, nobody's attracted to you. Lyrically, probably is what he meant there. And he says, you look insanely whack when just a fraction of my tracks run. And right there, he's just saying, compared to when I start to rap, you don't look like shit. All right, let's keep going.
My rhyming skills got you climbing hills. I travel through your mind into your spine like siren drills. I'm sliming grills of roaches with spray to disinfect and twist and X of rappers to their spinal column disconnects.
All right, and then right here, my rhyming skills got you climbing hills. Just talking about, his rhyming skills are so complex that, like, mentally it's hard to break it down. Like, you're climbing hills, it's a struggle to break everything down and catch everything. He says, I travel through your mind and to your spine like siren drills, because, when you hear the siren drills go off, initially you have a state of panic. Even on Fridays, like for here on Fridays at like 11 or 12, they'll do like a tornado siren drill here in Indy. But it's one of those things where even when you hear it, initially your mind goes, oh shit, what's going on? But then you look at the time and it's like, oh, it's okay, it's 11. But yeah, so siren drills, getting your, causing you to kind of lose your shit. And he says, I'm sliming grills of roaches with spray that disinfects and twisting necks of rappers till their spinal column disconnects. So I'm sliming grills of cockroaches with spray that disinfects is actually just basically talking about how the people around him, the rap game around him, is just a bunch of insects for him to get rid of, right? And he says, and twist the necks of rappers till their spinal cords disconnects, just a lyrical way of saying he's going to break their neck. All right, let's keep going.
With this index, inject the monologue. Turn your system up, twist them up and indulge in the marijuana smoke. This is the season for noise pollution, contamination, examination of more cartoons than animation.
The wordplay, dude, this is fucking amazing. All right, so put this in decks and check the monologue. So talking about putting this in, decks, as in tape decks, because that's how old this is. For those of you kids that don't know, music used to come on little cassette tapes. But he says, put this in decks and check the monologue. Turn your system up, twist them up, and indulge in the marijuana smog. Talking about turn your system up in your car, and then twist them up, talking about a joint. And he says, and indulge in the marijuana smog, because this is back when he was, smoking weed and doing whatever else crazy fucking drugs he would do. But, yeah. And then he says, this is the season for noise pollution contamination, because, of cranking your system up. And he says, examination of more cartoons than animation. Cartoons is the double entendre there, because it's examination of more cartoons, talking about music in your car, cartoons. But a cartoon, like Saturday morning cartoons, is animation. That's why it says more cartoons than animation. Dude, just what goes through this man's mind when he writes, even back then, was fucking nuts. Let's keep going.
My lamination of narration hits a snare and bass in a track for duck rapper interrogation. When I declare invasion, there ain't no time to be staring, gazing. I turn the stage into a barren wasteland. I'm infinite.
All right, and this is the last thing before the actual chorus. He says, my lamination of narration hits a snare and bass. And then he goes on to say, on a track for duck rapper interrogation. So he's talking about rappers that duck, like the duck out of beef, right? So he's on a track for a duck rapper interrogation, where he's going to interrogate them for ducking out. He says, when I declare invasion, there ain't no time to be staring gazing. I turn the stage into a barren wasteland. I'm infinite. Talk about when he declares invasion, when he says he's coming, there's no time to be staring or gazing. So like no time to be shocked. He says, I turn the stage into a barren wasteland, talking about he destroys everything. And he says, I'm infinite, talking about he's forever. Which back then, he might not have known he was going to blow up the way he did, because this is even before Dre signed him, right? Before Dre discovered him. But his music will probably be forever now. Next up is the hook, which is the chorus. And then, like I said, we'll only listen to that once. I think this is a 3-verse song, yeah. We'll only listen to that once, and we'll break it down the first time. And then we'll go back into... We'll skip it every other time after this. So let's keep going.
You heard of hell when I was sent from it. I went to it serving a sentence for murdering instruments. Now I'm trying to repent from it. But when I hear the beat, I'm tempted to make another attempt at it. I'm infinite.
All right, I'm gonna back that up just a smidge. Just a smidge. All right. So he says, you heard of hell while I was sent from it. I went to it serving a sentence for murdering instruments. Talk about murdering the instrumental. He was sent to hell as a sentence. But he came back from that hell for murdering the instrumental. He says, now I'm trying to repent from it, saying he's trying to get back from it. But when I hear the beat, I'm tempted to make another attempt at it. Talking about, I'm tempted to go back to murdering the beat. This dude's mind is just fucking amazing. All right, we're gonna continue on into verse 2.
Bust it. I let the beat commit so I can beat the sense in your elite defense. I got some meat to mince, fruit is stomping into feet to rinse. I greet the gents and ladies, I spoil loyal fans. I foil your plans and leave fluids leaking like oil bands.
All right. He says, I let the beat commence. Let's talk about I let the beat continue. So I can beat the sense in your elite defense. Talking about, you can have all the defense you want, but I'm gonna poke holes in it, right? He says, I got some meat to mince. Talking about, I got words to have with you. Um, a crew to stomp, and then 2 feet to rinse. Talk about, he's going to stomp your whole crew, and then he's going to have to rinse his feet afterwards. I greet the gents and ladies. I spoil loyal fans. Talking about, he greets everybody, but then he spoils his fans. And then he says, I foil plans and leave fluids leaking like oil pans. Talking about, he foils any plans you have in an attempt to stop him. And then he says, and leave fluids leaking like oil pans, just to play on words. Talk about, after he murders you, your fluids are gonna be all over the ground like an oil pan. Let's keep going.
My coiled hands around this microphone are lethal. One thought in my cerebral is deeper than a jeep full of people. MCs are feeble. I came to cause some pandemonium. Battle a band of phony MCs, a stand alone one.
All right, and he says, damn it, I didn't mean to click into that. And he says, one thought in my cerebral. Talking about one thought in his mind. Or no, wait. My bad. We got back up a line. My coiled hands around this microphone are lethal. Talking about, gripping the mic. He says, one thought in my cerebral, talking about one thought in his mind, is deeper than a jeep full of people. Because a jeep could actually hold quite a few people. So he says, my thoughts are deeper than that. He says, MCs are feeble. I came to cause some pandemonium. Talking about MCs are weak, and I came to just cause insanity. He says, or panic. He's here to panic people. And he says, battle a band of phony MCs and stand the lonely one. Talking about, he'll battle your whole group of fake MCs and stand by himself after he's done. He'll be the only one left. Let's keep going.
Imitator, intimidator, stimulator, simulator of data, eliminator. There's never been a greater. Since the burial of Jesus, fuck around and catch all the venereal diseases.
He says, imitator, intimidator, stimulator, which is him saying he's there to imitate. He's there to imitate, intimidate, and to stimulate. Which is funny because he's actually got a song that I actually really like called Stimulate, which is really fucking good. And then he says, simulator of data, eliminator. Talk about he's going to simulate some data in his rhymes, but then he's going to eliminate you in the process. He says, there's never been a greater since the burial of Jesus. Talking about there's never been anyone as good as him since Jesus. He says, fuck around and catch all the venereal diseases. I don't know if he's talking about him or he's talking about somebody else. Probably him, because he has a lot of songs based around catching STDs. But let's keep going. This is almost the end of the second verse, and then we'll skip to the third verse.
These are the smash stereo to pieces. My acapella releases classic masterpieces through telekinesis that eases you mentally, gently, sentimentally, instrumentally, with entity, dementally meant to be infinite.
All right, then he says, my thesis will smash a stereo to pieces, talking about his rhymes, his work. My acapella releases classic masterpieces, talking about back when he would rap acapella, which we got most of that taste on like 8 Mile when he was rapping acapella with his friends. But yeah, acapella is just like without instrumental. He says, through telekinesis, it eases you mentally, talking about through speaking to you mentally, like with his mind. It eases you. And he says, gently, sentimentally, instrumentally, with entity dementedly meant to be infinite. Talking about, although gentle and sentimental and instrumental, the demented part is what's meant to be infinite amongst all that. And then again, we'll skip the hook. So there will be a weird cut here, and then it'll pick up at the third verse.
Man, I got evidence, I'm evidence, and I've been clever ever since my residence was hesitant to do some shit that represents the MO. So I'm assuming all responsibility, cause there's a monster will in me that always wants to kill MCs.
All right. He says, man, I got evidence. I'm never dense. Talk about, I've got evidence that I'm not stupid. And I've been clever ever since my residence was hesitant. Talking about, I've been clever ever since, even back when he was younger and going from home to home, which he's talked about a few times in his songs. And he says to do some shit that represents the MO, talking about the Motor City, which is Detroit. So I'm assuming all responsibility because there's a monster real in me. Talk about he's assuming all the responsibility because he is a monster. And he says the monster always wants to kill MCs.
Mike Nessler, slamming like a wrestler. Here to make a mess of a lyric smuggling embezzler. No one is specialer. My skill is intergalactical. I get cynical, act a fool, then I send it through back to school. I never packed a tool or act a cool. It wasn't practical. I'd rather let a tactical tactful tractical. You fancy?
All right, so this is one of those moments that's actually kind of hard to break up in terms of where I should have stopped it. But he says, Mike Nessler slamming like a wrestler. Talking about he nestles the mic. He holds on to it. And then he says, slamming like a wrestler, because, you know, wrestlers slam people. Here to make a mess of lyrical smuggling embezzler. Talk about he's here to make a mess of people that like smuggle and embezzle their lyrics. Talking about he's going to call you out on your bullshit. He says, no one is specialer. My skill is intergalactical. I get cynical, act a fool. Again, he's saying no one's better than him. He's saying his skill is out of this world. He says he does get cynical and acts a fool. And then he says, then I send a crew back to school. I never packed a tool or acted cool. It wasn't practical. This is him basically saying he's not gangster. Like, he says, you know, I never packed a tool or acted cool. It wasn't like he never toted a gun. He never acted cooler than what he was. He was always himself. He said it wasn't practical to pretend to be something he wasn't. And he says, I'd rather let a tactful track tickle your fancy, which is where I think I left off at. Talking about he'd rather have, you know, a track like this tickle your fancy, as in like, you know, get you happy and entertain you.
Fact I can't see or can't imagine a man who ain't a lover of beats or a fan of scratching. So this is for my family, the kid who had a cameo on my last jam, plus the man who never had a plan B. Be all you can be, cause once you make an instant hit, I'm tensed a bit and tempted when I see the sins my friends commit. I'm infinite.
And that's actually the end of the track. We won't listen to any more. I'll definitely scope through. Okay, so it doesn't actually say anything else. So he says, as a description of the last of the verse, in fact, I can't see or can't imagine a man who ain't a lover of beats or a fan of scratching. Talk about he can't see or imagine not being somebody who loves beats or just hip-hop. He says, so this is for my family, the kid who had a cameo on my last jam, plus the man who never had a plan B. I don't know who was on his last jam or when he planned on having this on his track list, but he says it's just him saying this is for the people that are close to me. He's like, the kid who had a cameo on my last jam, talk about whoever it was that was with him on the last track, plus to the person who never had a plan B, who never had a second option, who chased their dreams and just pursued what it is that they desired. He says, be all you can be, because once you make an instant hit, he said, but you know, just saying, be all you can be. Like, don't even worry about that plan B. Just chase that dream. He says, I'm tensed a bit and tempted. Talking about he is tense and he's tempted to kind of go after something else. But then he says, when I see the sins my friends commit, I'm infinite. Talking about like that was him. It's him. Whenever he sees his friends rapping, it brings him back into it. It brings him back to it brings him back to wanting to rap. And then he also, apparently that last line is also a metaphor, and this is just something I happened to read, that's why I kind of stuttered there, where it does say the metaphor also continues from the instant hit meaning both a great song and a murder, because an assassination is a hit. Thus it all comes together, murder instruments. Going back to what he had said way earlier in the song. But man, that is actually going to do it for this video. Again, this is early M, very early M. he doesn't actually say much. Like later on, he just says 9-6 a few times, which is just him talking about what year it is. This is before M made it big. This was more when he was definitely happier. Definitely smiled a lot more. And dude just killed it, man. Fucking killed it. But this is what he was talking about when he was talking about the happier rhymes that he used to come out with, like, and people just weren't feeling in the Castle song. And very, very good prime example. This is the album he was talking about that didn't blow, that didn't get popular like he thought it would. But hey, I thought it was a dope ass fucking track. But again, there's not much from him that I don't enjoy, if anything at all. Like even his silly shit like "Fack," I still enjoy the song. It's funny. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's just him being stupid. But hey, like I said, that is going to do it for this lyric breakdown. If you guys like the video, be sure to slash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Comment down below, what did you think of Eminem's Infinite? Also, be sure to comment down below if you guys want to see me react to, or not react, but break down something else of Eminem's. Let me know. I'm still using the randomizer until I start getting requests to do songs. But until that happens, we're just going to keep rocking with the randomizer, man. Also, be sure to check the description below for my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and my BitChute. And as always, I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching, and I cannot wait to see you to pray people later. Peace.